And there was a couple of thousand books surrounding me there, and they burned in one day. 1 hour.
Probably our most devastating fires since colonisation, really.
Berry is dairy country by the sea.
The support of locals, they really try to come out and support you where they can.
Sit there and bask in the sun and say, wow, how good's this?
They don't want to give up. They're determined.
Adapt to the new situation and keep moving forward.
Property that I own is 100 acres of forest which covers that side of the hill up there, which you can see up through there. It was so windy and dry for so long that you know, the bush was wanting to explode, really. The fire went up that way, and then the fire brigade tried to fight it with backburning and so on, and then it jumped the river, and then it went right down, round the end of the mountain, all the way down to Bawley Point, down Kyola, and further south, of course. And then there was a big long fire front out this way, and the fire came over there, and then up over the mountain, and then down to the sea, and then up to the north. The place was called Ye Gods, and it came from an expression that my father had always used, ye gods and little fishes, when he was irritated. And it was one of those sort of places that felt like it was in the gods, really. And the house was a recycled materials dwelling that came from properties and materials all over Australia. It fitted into the landscape very nicely, I think. When you lose as much as this, there are times when it does seem too much. And you have to sort of say, well, do I stay here or do I go? I've gone through fluctuations over time, and now I'm absolutely convinced that I've made the right decision to stay and to build a building which is going to be fireproof. The idea is that we dug back into the hill over there. It will be partly underground and partly not, and because it'll be made out of concrete, nothing will burn. There will be no timber in it at all. And the idea is, of course, that the walls will be quite thick with quite deep reveals, which will be shielded, which will mean that any fire that comes here, there will be no threat. It can burn as much as it likes. This is a place of great memory. It was actually a sitting area that looked out towards the view, and had set it up as a place to read, and it was surrounded by books and art and so on, and I used to work there a lot. And there was a couple of thousand books surrounding me there, and they burned in one day. 1 hour. Strange thing happened one day when I was at a gathering, and a lady who I know, but didn't know particularly well, came up to me and said, do you like green and do you like quilts? I heard you lost your quilts. And of course I lost all my bedding, you know, I didn't have anything. You know, the idea of people offering something to you, which is a lot of work, to generously say, we'll just give you this. I thought, wow, what a fantastic thing to do.
Oh, g'day, Rod. How are you?
Auntie Ollie, who started the quilt like in her 80s, she developed macular degeneration, so she couldn't see anymore, and she had this bag of cut-out pieces, and she gave it to me, not realising that I was like not a sewer. So she said, well, maybe you can find somebody to do it because I can't finish it.
They sat in a bag, and early one morning I thought, I know what I can do with them. I'll have a look and see how many squares there are. Sorted them all out and then laid them on the floor in my study and started playing around with it. And then I was talking to a friend of mine, and she told me that Rod had lost his home in the fires and had some quilts that got burnt, and I thought, I know who I can go to. So that gave me a purpose. And it's a point in time as well, you know, it's like, it was after the fires that I was given this quilt, so it's sort of, out of something bad comes something good.
Well, she was giving it back to me, and I said, well, you've done all the work. I'm happy for you to keep it. And then she told me the story about Rod, and it was like meant to be.
Kindness is one of the small things that you can give to people, and it's often the things that's treasured the most.
think the bush is a big thing about here at Bawley Point, and I think you've got to encourage people to be able to walk in it. And I've got to understand it. Enjoy yourself, go down to the beach, enjoy the little caravan on the beach down there, and we've often taken tables and chairs down there, sit there and bask in the sun and say, wow, how good's this?
Coming down for the weekend? Yeah, nice. You picked a good one with this weather. Because we're from overseas in Europe they have a lot of little cafes on the beach, close to the beach, and we thought, why not try and do something similar? Any sugars in the piccolo? No.
Morning, how are you? On that headland, over 250 years ago, was where Captain Cook saw his very first sign of inhabitants on this land. It's important that people who visit the area not only know the history, but experience the beauty that we've got here as well. That's what brought them down.
The coastline here is just amazing, and how good is it for people to go grab a coffee, sit on the rocks, enjoy the beautiful scenery. It's just great. Would you like a bit of eggplant on the brew? The support of locals, they really try to come out and support you where they can. First with the fires, obviously, we couldn't trade for a while. When that all settled, we started trading again, and really people wanted to go out and do something and come here and support us, so that was great.
We were the first area to be hit by the fires. We were very fortunate because at that time we had every resource available to us in Bawley, Kyola, Termeil. But what I found was everyone gathered together and helped each other. So when you come into Bawley, you see a sign, "Together brings strength." And that really came out in the fires. It was tremendous.
It's pure, 100% pure local Shoalhaven.
Without the market, there would be no Potters Group. The market is a very important fundraiser for the Potters, but it's also a well-known outlet for local arts and crafts people. We're a makers market. Everything sold has a contribution from someone in the community. I've got to move my ute. Well, I got up at 5:30 and checked the weather to make sure that my assessment was correct. Fielded a couple of phone calls from people. Got here at 6:15 and there were stall holders already waiting to set up. The end is there and you're out this way, okay? Because that's going to be the designated exit. I have to have a designated entry and exit point. Hectic, yeah. People don't realise just how many underemployed people there are around as well as unemployed. And a lot of people are looking to try and make a little bit of money somehow. And if it means getting out and about and meeting people, well, it's a bonus. Thank you very much. I have to get some sustenance in me. The market's a big source of funds for the potters, and that's important because pottery is not a cheap hobby. It has a very high infrastructure cost. We have to maintain several kilns. They cost upwards of $20,000 to replace. Our fees would have to be so high, if it wasn't for the market, that we probably wouldn't survive as a potters group.
Well, we have quite a lot of retired people, and it keeps them meeting people, keeps them alive. You know, it's something for them to do instead of sitting at home vegetating. Many of our potters work from home. They have their own kiln and their own wheels. They need to be with other potters to talk about what they've done.
Their clay's still a bit different to ours. Let go slowly. The benefit with clay, you can do anything with it. It's amazing. And this is also a really good thing for relaxation. I mean, you get really cranky at times when things don't work out the way you want. But this is, by and large, a really good therapy as well.
It's very inspirational. My favourite, actually, is throwing clay, which I've dug out from the garden. We were digging footings for the big shed, and out came the machines with this clay, which was so dense that I was so convinced you can make pots out of it. And now I am. I'm making all these lovely pots out of this clay, which is dug out of my garden.
It's good for the community because some of our market people travel to get to that market. It's not just just the immediate locals. We have people from all over that go from market to market, and they choose Piree Market simply because of the atmosphere.
So far so good. The weather's holding off. We've had a huge turnout of stallholders, the biggest turnout probably for 5 or possibly 10 years. So now we're just waiting on the public to come along and spend their money.
A little one, the big one's 10 and the other ones are all 8. So, and they all sit differently, so it depends on which pot you've got. This is actually local clay.
Oh,
so it's from Waddy
okay.
Clay, so I'll put that in there. So that's 12 change.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A lot of younger people are back to basics. They're really getting back into pottery, into handicraft. But this is on a white clay.
Small markets like this, community events like this are the beating heart of the community, a small beating heart that contributes to a very large community feel and presence.
It's interesting again.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm going to take this one.
Excellent.
That's why we have the market. Without the market, there would be no Potters Group.
Shoalhaven Regional Gallery was open just over 15 years ago, and in that time it's really cemented itself as a critical piece of the arts ecosystem here in the Shoalhaven. That's because the gallery has a really strong remit to bring arts to the community and encourage conversation. The bushfires had such a huge impact on so many people, not just those who were immediately affected, but the stress and anxiety and the community impact was immense. And artists, of course, respond to what's happening to them, to their emotional response to things. It was a huge event. It was something that has changed the Shoalhaven. It's something that just elevates the town in placing these murals by people who are at the absolute top of their game in street art and public art murals. They encourage community pride, they encourage curiosity, like who is this person, why are they there, and that there is this incredibly strong arts connection here in Nowra. Those murals are just the perfect thing for that.
Berry is dairy country by the sea.
The rural is the thing that's so pretty.
We've had probably our most devastating fires since colonisation, really. It's been one of the hottest, most destructive fires that white people have seen. It's had a huge impact on people visiting the forest, professionals trying to repair the damage like national park staff, tourism operators like myself, so it's affected everything across the board. In this next 6 months we need decent rain to bring back the bush, to bring back the wildlife. That's very important. Many people, when they go on a bushwalk or they see a place of natural beauty, they often want to get to that lookout. They get to that spectacular point where there's a waterfall, a lookout point. What I encourage people, especially with my walks, is observing the life, the plant life, what animals live in particular trees, places that people, when they rush, they miss. So you've got to slow down and stop and look at those trees.
We've got 7 Mile Beach, we're at Currowan. The walk itself is beautiful, but the view is also quite amazing. And it's just so nice to see the nature and get outside.
So what we've got here is a very old eucalypt we've got here. It would easily be 280, 300 years old. Trees of this age are vital for the animals within this ecosystem because they are apartment blocks. They are places where the animals live. They're nurseries for gliders, for owls, for possums, and this is where they bring their young up.
Maybe we should go for a bite to eat at Berry.
Yeah, definitely. They've got some really good cafes down there.
Cakes, pastry.
And coffee.
Yeah.
Gotta have coffee.
Berry is dairy country by the sea. It's just the most beautiful, serene area. The ocean's nearby, the historic buildings, the rolling countryside, and lots of cows.
But the rural aspect is why people come here.
These guys are beautiful.
Oh, aren't they sweet? Yeah. They are so spoiled.
They're such a sucker for a scratch as well, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
The hay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's dairy country in a resort area.
Though the rural is the thing that's so pretty, it's visibly, it's a rural town.
Came here 30 years ago and wow.
We feel that it's a new wave of people that are coming here.
If things look old, they're meant to look old. We do things that are in an old style. When people are in Berry, they're a little bit more relaxed, and therefore they actually enjoy coming into a place like this and spotting things and going, oh, that's interesting. All the little useful things you never knew you needed. And we try very specifically to look for unusual things that we haven't seen before, that then are going to be different for people who've got everything.
Every weekend seems like a long weekend, which is fantastic for cafe owners and the whole town in general. And this is the gateway to the whole Shoalhaven.
It's rural, but it's tourism and merchant.
We want to get rid of 2020, so with 2021, get rid of the old and bring in the new. Palo Santo is a scent that is a South American fragrance. They burn the bark of the Palo Santo tree, and that's their way of smudging to get rid of negative energy. It's got this beautiful vanilla tone, palm leaf. Sometimes you get to appreciate the highs by going through the lows. So by having a hard time, it got us to appreciate what our business really was, and family. You know, realise how important family was.
Well, our business stopped. It ground to a halt. In the space of a week, we lost 6 months' worth of bookings.
We're going to cook our spuds in the fire and then later on you can toast your marshmallows.
So we had this opportunity to do this renovation straight away. So it was this fairly uncomfortable decision of, do we go ahead and get on with it while we've got a break in bookings, or do we get going again whenever COVID's going to end? And we didn't know when that would be. But we just pushed it aside and got on with it, and I'm so pleased we did. It was the best use of the time, and it just put us in such a good place to bounce back and get going again.
One of the things that we've learned actually is that people have become much more patient. People have become more patient with us as merchants and more patient with each other. And I think that's something which is very positive that's come out of this.
What's been really interesting, and particularly post-COVID, is people's urgency to get away, and people just want to come away and they want to gather, they want to spend nice quality time together where they can just go for a few days and relax and reconnect, eat beautiful food, drink beautiful wine, shop in gorgeous shops.
So this piece has actually only had one owner as far as I know.
And some people who come here don't want it to change once they're here. Now that's just not viable. You can't stop some progress. And as in all communities, there's this balance that you've got to take.
Adapt to the new situation and keep moving forward.
They don't want to give up.
We were coming out of pretty terrible drought, which was affecting, right across the Australia, really. From a rural perspective, people are already, under pressure. And that affects shows right across the board. Coming out of the drought and coming out of the fires, that'd be great if we could put something on to say thank you, first to all of our emergency services personnel, but just everyone in the community.
It's been very inspiring, actually, because what I find is that people want to find a way to actually hold a show. They don't want to give up. They're determined, and it brings out, I think, the resilience that we have within us that we didn't even possibly know that we had.
I like making stuff, but it was really disappointing to see the show having to cancel the whole lot.
We know what we're doing. Jumping horses.
So I got behind to keep the show jumping going. Get them out first half. Cut the numbers right in half.
We're very, very sorry not to have our usual full contingent, and this time setting up for Nowra show, usually the wood chop would be in, and there'd be monster trucks starting to come on the ground, and there'd be the buzz.
But the COVID regulations and rules that we've got to stick by have been extremely hard. Everything involved behind is just been mind-blowing, so the committee have been awesome.
About there, yep. Yep. It's a healthy thing, I think, for the committee to get together and do this. It's a bit of a shame for the societies that have had, now it'll be nearly 2 years, or will be 2 full years with no show. And that will be difficult to motivate some committee people to get back into it.
We've literally been getting each week to an event and they, a few days out, cancel on us, and it was really disheartening. And I know now it has good grounds, good equipment, we have the facilities, and I knew we could get the manpower to make it work, so I just kept pushing and pushing, and yeah, I got it here.
It is making the best of it, yeah. I mean, we didn't expect we would have this, and you know, when the show jumping guys suggested we do this, yeah, we jumped into it.
Chris, is that what we're doing? It is a different way. What we've done here is that the sections that were able to run themselves and do their own thing have actually organised their own events.
These people are all ready to go to Sydney Show, and they need something to get to give the horses a day out, some match play, so to speak, before they go to Sydney.
Absolutely, the alpacas and the junior alpaca paraders and the cattle steer people wouldn't have had a chance to practice, for starters, so they would have gone to the Royal cold without having had a bit of a run through to settle the cattle and get them used to that sort of an event.
Here's your egg and bacon roll, guys. The competitors get very hungry, and the stewards out in the ring. We always feed the stewards because they spend most of the day picking up poles when the horses knock them over. When you get here and it's all happening, and you know, you see all these guys who are just happy to be on their horses and riding and having an event, we're good.
It's a big thing to get it back on board, but of course the whole show, we plan to do that in September.
And I think it's really important to adapt to the new situation and keep moving forward for everyone, and yeah, just make the most of the situation that we have.
That's what we need. We need more hollies, and then the show will go on like it has for the last 145 years.
I arrived in the Shoalhaven in the late 80s, and I immediately knew that this was the place for me.
Just love the community spirit. I just love that atmosphere, and of course being able to walk to the beach every day, it's good for the soul.
Make sure that our fishermen go out there and get a bountiful catch and return home safely.
The bushfire comes through, it's a real quick high heat. The cones open up and it releases the seeds.
It was just apparent that most of everything had been destroyed.